Hey friends, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to give pointers, probably mostly to newbies or people who are returning from a long hiatus, on some graphic settings that you could do in-game that can really help the performance of your game, especially if you're like me, where you like multi-boxing, and multi-boxing is playing more than one character at a time on a single computer, okay? Hopefully this will help. But wait, where am I? I'm lost in the weeds. Oh no! How do I get not lost in the weeds? We press Alt-O for options. We go to the display tab because usually you open it up, it's in the general, so click display. And then we hit advanced. Here we have the option to disable the radial flora. Disabling this can be a lifesaver if you're a tiny gnome like Fezzelwig here, which, yes, he is a tiny gnome. So you can reactivate it easy enough by hitting it again or turning it off. Another cool option is that you can enable or disable the shadows. So if you look here, look at Fezzelwig's face right now, and I turned it off, and you see the shadows disappear from his face. I like having the shadows on. Now, if you don't have a good enough graphics card, if it's a little slow, if you're suffering from a lot of lag or some lag spikes, you may want to turn the shadows off because it does use more processing power. Another option that I feel is important to mention is the shadow clip plane, although it's not super important. This will extend shadows to creatures that are further away. So you see now this spider walking, there's a shadow under him, there's a shadow under this drakeling, and seeing shadows under every mob isn't really important to me, so I keep mine relatively low, about there. That way I see shadows on anything near me. Something more important than that, though, is actor clip plane. As you see, I have mine extended to the very end here. I have mine maxed out. What happens if we lower it? Take a look at this kobold here in the distance. As I go lower, eventually he just blinks out of existence. He disappears. Lowering your actor clip plane can help reduce with some lag, right? Because your CPU doesn't have to render nearly as many actors or characters or monsters as it normally does when it's extended full to the end here. But this can also be a bad thing if it's too low, and if you're pulling mobs or looking for any specific monster to either pull to your group or to go hunt or whatever, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see it up. You won't see it until you're really close and it will show up. So I like having mine maxed out. Again, if your CPU or your graphics card can handle it, then sure, you can have it maxed out, and it is not a problem. Lowering that is something out of necessity. Sometimes when I'm playing 3 different characters at a time, like a team, right? Mage, enchanter, cleric, or mage, enchanter, shaman, or something of that variation. As a team, I will have my actor clip plane turned all the way up with the character I'm driving with, right? Like my mage, or if it's my enchanter, whoever is the lead character, I will have their actor clip plane maxed out, whereas if I'm experiencing some lag from the other characters, I might turn theirs down, because it doesn't matter if they can't see things far away. I'm not driving with them anyway. I'm driving with my main character. He's the one that's got to pull and see the mobs from a distance. So you can always turn it down on the other alts. It's not as important for them. Here is another setting that I feel is super, super important. Now, if you never ever multi-box, you only ever play a single character, max background FPS is completely unimportant to you. You can have it set to like 35 or even minimum CPU or whatever, because it's never going to be in the background. But if you're anything like me and you like playing more than one character at a time because you're playing a team or whatever, then max background FPS or frames per second is important. You want to have your max background FPS set to the maximum, set to unlimited, especially on the two characters or however many that you're boxing, that you're not driving with, because this is when I just have, like, for example, I'm driving with Fez, right? So I'm running around with Fez and everything's fine. But what about the other characters? What about my enchanter or my cleric or whatever that's on the team? If they do not have their maximum background frames per second set to unlimited, or at least set really high, they're going to lag out. And instead of following Fez and going straight through this gap over here, they might be wandering over to the right or to the left, or just running around in circles like this for a while. And you're going to lose them. They're going to drop off of auto follow, and you might not even realize it until you're at the zone line, and then you're frustrated because you're like, ah, dang it, I gotta go and get my enchanter and run them over here to the zone or whatever. So max background frames per second is something you want to extend to unlimited if you are multi-boxing, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. I know autofollow stinks, but it stinks a tiny bit less when you follow this one tip and keep your max background FPS set to unlimited. Then there's target name flashing speed normal. I don't ever really mess with this. I think that's when you're targeting something. Yeah, their name kind of flashes. Let's see what happens when we... Oh, wow. So it blinks really fast, like a strobe light, when you put it there. I don't think I've ever messed with this setting, guys. I really don't think I have. I'll just leave it at the normal. So, yeah, there's that setting. Then you've got things here like dynamic sky reflection size. Mine's currently set to small. Then we have sky reflection update interval once per minute. I don't really know what this stuff does. I don't look up at the sky that much, guys. So it's not a real big deal. I mean, it is kind of pretty right now. We got some clouds, we got some stars, got some steam rising from the fissures in the rock. But it's up to you. You could have your terrain set to high, medium, low. That's just how high the texture quality is on the ground, the rocks, the mountains, that sort of thing. I like having it high because it makes things a little bit crisper, because you see, like, look, the bark is pretty sharp here, you know? And otherwise, if you have it set to low, it's all going to be a bit blurry, and I like it a little bit crisper. Then there's memory mode. I have mine set to balanced. You can have least memory usage, most memory usage. I feel like balanced is probably a good setting. And up here, these settings, I mean, I usually keep allow 2.0 pixel shaders on. I usually keep advanced lighting on. I usually keep shadows on, as I mentioned before. Radial flora, I turn that off and on depending on my mood or what I'm playing. Most of the time it's off, though, just because while these plants can maybe make the world look a little more populated, a little more full, I play a lot of very short characters, gnomes, halflings, you know, that sort of thing. And it gets in the way more than it helps. Honestly, it's never once helped anything. It just makes the world look a little more full. But I'm okay with having it off. So I usually just have it off. I use my imagination that this short green astroturf is the grass, you know? I don't need to worry about things blocking my view. Another downside to having the radial flora on, if you're hunting for ground spawns, because sometimes you're in an outdoor zone looking for things that spawn on the ground. One example would be like misty acorns in the misty thicket. you're not going to see them with the Radiant Flora on. You're going to want to have that off when you're hunting for ground spawns. At least it helps me. It's always helped me to identify a ground spawn by having it off. Anyway, that's all the tips I have for you today. I thought it could be helpful to have some tips on some of the graphic stuff that you could do in game once you're playing. I hope this helps somebody. If it does, great. Please leave a thumbs up. If you like what I do here, you'd like to support me and support the channel, please smash the subscribe button if you would be so kind. Better yet, you could even join the channel as a channel member. Channel members get special perks and privileges, like a link to join the private Discord. If YouTube memberships are not your thing, look at the links below the video for a link to my Patreon. Patreon patrons get similar perks, like a link to join the private Discord. Please check all the links below the video here, because there's also a link to all my social media accounts and my music channel called DJ Wobblecog, because I identify as a gnome, so kinda. Because I just play gnomes a lot, and I like goofing around with like AI music generators, and it's all for fun. I just like making cool music, sometimes related to whatever video I'm doing or related to some crazy topic. Sometimes I get in the mood and I'm a little down and I come up with some really somber gothic sounding tunes, and they end up being pretty catchy. I end up listening to them sometimes again when I'm like, yeah, that came out neat, man. I'll listen to that. I'm like, I need to figure out a way that I could kind of squirrel it into my playlist while I'm driving around as an Uber. Let's see if anybody notices, like, what is this song? What is this group? And I'll be like, oh, this is AI generated, you know? So you see if anybody notices. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget, you can also leave a super thanks in the video. A super thanks is like a little donation or a tip, if you will, that will also help me out and help my channel grow. I want to thank all my current YouTube channel members and Patreon patrons for your support and your continued support. Those of you who subscribe and resubscribe month after month are my absolute heroes. I appreciate you guys so very much, and I appreciate everybody for watching today. Have a great day and a wonderful tomorrow.